master's students are part of a large programme. There's several hundred of them, and the 100 which are part of the social development programme, a lot of them come on a field trip, which is what we're on now in Uganda.
So the field trip is the only chance students without a lot of development experience get to really see what development looks like on the ground.
Practically speaking, we start off in Kampala. That's a really great place to meet up with as many central government offices as we can. So Saturdays when we travel up country, Sundays when we also take a rest day, and we show them around a national park. But that sequence of starting off in Kampala, moving up country, and then for the rest of the week then going around to the individual projects, often in quite rural and relatively remote areas. That helps too, so that we can get a national level perspective and then see things playing out on the ground. So you often get very contrasting viewpoints.
It's a packed schedule, but you get amazing access, and you get to have one-to-one meetings with people very senior in government, and then you also get to speak to sort of really poor communities who haven't seen a government minister in their entire lives. So you get this amazing cross-section of development and the issues and the people.
There's different components of our preparations, so we prepare them both in terms of the theories that we're going to be exploring in practice in Uganda, but we also try and prepare them for the realities of doing fieldwork. That's limited in its effectiveness just because there are many things that you can't understand until you're confronted with them in the field.
We do some really sort of in-depth preparation with students where they have to understand the issues before they arrive, develop research plans. We work with them on what are the best questions to be asking, how can they get the best information, so that when we're here, sort of ideally what happens is we almost step back. We create a situation in which the students can interact with Ugandans, and then it just happens.
The opportunity to visit the refugee camps and to see the extreme poverty people are living in, even in this day. And I think it does a lot to change your orientation on how you see things.
Talking to a 15-year-old girl yesterday about her experience with education and not having enough books and pens in order to go to class. And then coupled with that, talking to a young man today who is a Sudanese refugee, and him also having the same problems of not having enough resources to enable him to continue his education. Both those for me, since I'm interested in education, and have really impacted me.
At the primary school, it was something incredible. The warmth, the happiness, those kids.
The excitement of the children yesterday was amazing, and it was quite a good way to finish off.
For us, we see children with disabilities, and we have seen policies where you have to develop for them. And so being among them and seeing how they're living, it gives you a better insight as to how these policies can be written and what you need to take into consideration when writing such a policy.
What I didn't realize is the amount of opportunities we were going to have to actually talk to people themselves, or what you would call as beneficiaries.
It's actually much better than I thought it would be, because a lot of high-level people and a lot of different people have taken the time off to talk to us, even though we're only university students. But there's been a nice balance between being able to work and actually just experience the country.
It was very interesting to have interviews with people from development agencies, federal government, district level government and local people, NGOs, and that gives you a very wide perspective.
Students will always feel uncomfortable at certain points because some parts of what we look at down here are not comfortable. I mean, poverty is painful to watch. There's a reason why we feel motivated to respond to it and to do something about it. It's because we don't like to witness human suffering, right? That's why we're here. That's why we want to understand how to make this world a better place through development.
This trip brings together essentially very privileged students with really very poor Ugandans. It starkly juxtaposes people who are on completely different life paths. The students don't like that. I don't think the Ugandans like it that much either. A lot of the actual experience of development day to day is learning to cope with that juxtaposition in a way which is respectful and honourable and effective and practical.
What we hope students will learn is what these problems look like on the ground, and how they might themselves go about investigating and researching these problems in the future. And the whole fieldwork is based around that kind of moving from what they understood in Manchester to what they can understand through doing these things with their own eyes and their own hands.
In development, there's often a lot of frustration. You never have enough time to do the things you're trying to do, to find out the things you're trying to find out. You get a continual series of gatekeepers who will tell you what they want you to think, and it's actually your job to get behind that.
In the 12 intensive days we spend out here, it really sinks in. It really sort of suffuses people, because there's no escape. It's really, you know, you're together, you're thinking about these things, you're researching these things all day long, intensively.
I think this trip has really opened my eyes, and I think I can speak for other people as well. It gives you an insight into development work, and for me I think it's like reaffirmed my determination to work in this field.
I was at Manchester University 3 years ago and doing the Environment and Development pathway, and I went on exactly the same trip during my course. The organisation that I now work for are based here. I'd never heard of them until I came here, but then having made connections while I was out here, 2 years later when the job became available, I got an email, and now I'm sitting here doing it. The programme's changed all the time. It's even better now than it was when I was there, and I got a massive amount out of it.
There are many things that we can learn about when we read books and when we hear lectures, but there's many things that we can't understand until we're faced with it in the field. The students really enjoy that, and the part I enjoy about that is seeing them learning as they go along the week, as their eyes open, as they become more confident with learning about how to do research, how to interview people, how to use all of your senses when you're going through the research process.
In 10 years' time, they're going to remember a few things. One of those things will definitely be fieldwork, because it's a really sort of intense process of learning, and they're just spending so much time together. This is where the sort of the understandings really sink in. It gets into your bones when you're out here.
Don't come to Uganda with any preconceived ideas. Come to Uganda with an open mind. I think you will learn a lot, and you will also be able to see where the mistakes are, what has exacerbated the mistakes, and what can facilitate, and you can start to think about what can facilitate a positive, sustainable change.